The brain starter here is asking for sine at the values of 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Now in order to do this, remember we can look at the unit circle. Specifically on the unit circle, we look at the points of intersection with the x and y axes. And we're going to look at the y coordinate. So on this point, 1, 0, the y coordinate is 0, so sine at 0 is 0. For pi over 2, the y coordinate is 1, so pi over 2 is 1. For pi, the coordinate is negative 1, 0, so the y is 0. For 3 pi over 2, the coordinate is 0, negative 1, so the y coordinate is negative 1. And 2 pi is the same as 0, so it's 0. Today we're going to be graphing sine and cosine functions, which are examples of periodic functions. A periodic function is something that repeats itself. So if you look at sine, that right there is one period. But look how it continues off to the right, and if you go back into the negatives, it continues that way. It'll go continuously, infinitely, in both directions. Same thing with cosine, where a period looks like that. One easy way to remember the difference between the sine and cosine functions is where they begin at 0 and where they end at 2 pi. So if I highlight this one period of the sine function right here from 0 to 2 pi, and I highlight one period of the cosine function from 0 to 2 pi, you can sort of see what letters they make if you turn them sideways. If you look at sine, it makes a squiggly sort of S shape. Cosine, if you turn it sideways and, allow for a little artistic liberty, makes a C. Now, we'll be graphing these with different dilations and reflections involved. So the one easy way to graph it is you make a table, just like we did in the brain starter of values. So we had sine, we had 0, we had 1, 0, negative 1, and 0 again. And then, once you make that table of values, plot the points, and then connect them with a smooth line. This is not a linear function, so you're going to connect it with a smooth curve. Let's remember the brain starter and fill in the table again. Sine of 0 is 0. Pi over 2 is 1. Pi is 0. 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. And 2 pi is the same as 0, which is 0. So, now what we need to do is plot these points. So, if you notice down below, the x-axis is actually radian measures here from 0 to 2 pi. And the y-axis is normal, 0, 1, 2, and negative 1, negative 2, etc. So, the first point, if your angle is 0, sine of theta is also 0. So there's that point. Pi over 2, sine of theta is 1. For pi, sine is 0. And for 3 pi over 2, sine is negative 1. And then for 2 pi, sine is 0. Now, the next thing we have to do is connect these. But again, don't connect them with these bold straight lines that connect, because this isn't a linear function. We need to connect these with smooth curves. So, in order to do that, go like this. And that's one period of the sine function from 0 to 2 pi.